Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see all of you here from all around the United States and around the world. Today we're going to have some fun because we're going to do some reverse, I said reverse psychology, reverse engineering, we're going in reverse when it comes to the layering dies that we have in our collection. Lots of our dies layer together at Gina K Designs, including most of the master layout sets. You can get the die that cuts your image, and then that die that does the little shadow layer around the outside. Well, today we're going to reverse those two panels, and I'm going to show you how to do a really cool matte look. And I think you're going to like it, and you're going to be able to use it for a lot of things. Even our scrapbooking friends can use this for their photographs. It's just a fun way to accent a focal image. But before we get started, let's say hello to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
How are you?
A little discombobulated here.
What's going on over there?
We were doing a little bit of silly songs before we started. And,
we will. Tom
got out of hand.
We were. Before we came live, Tom and I were actually dancing and singing to Take On Me by Aha. Remember that song? Take On Me. Oh my gosh, we were dancing, we were singing, we were being very silly. And then we looked at the clock and we just like, oh my gosh, we got to go on. But you got to have fun, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
Has your heart rate gone down yet?
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are going to have some crafting fun today, and let's get started. Now, I saw somebody in the group asked if I was going to be using the Doodled Autumn again, this stamp set. And of course I am. We've got a whole month of fun with this kit still. So I think I will use this today. I think I'll use these smaller leaves. I could use this image, but we'll see how it goes. So I want to show you how to create a mat. So what I want to do is outline basically an image like that. And then I want to have a thin shadow layer, not around the outside, but around the inside. So let me show you how to achieve this. Maybe I'll use the big leaf for this. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet. I thought about making a 5x7 card with this because I think this big leaf would could stand to be a 5x7 card. What do you guys think? Do you want to see me make a 5x7 card today, or do you want to see me do an A2 size card today? The thing about this card is whether I do it in a 5x7 or I do it in a A2 size, you can convert it using, the opposite. So, and anytime you have a big die like this, if it gets a little bit bent from going through the machine, just kind of go corner to corner and just straighten it out like that, and it'll be nice and flat again. See? Okay. All right, 5x7. Everybody wants 5x7. That's easy, and I'm going to do it today, and I think I'm going to use this big leaf for that. All right, so to get started, you can cut these squares if you want, or you can use the Master Layouts 3 die set to cut the square. So if you have Master Layouts 3, you can use it for this. And I think I will use Master Layouts 3 to cut the initial squares that I'm going to use. And the reason why is because people are going to want to see how to do it. But I'll tell you the size of these dies. So if you don't have Master Layouts 3, you can cut them yourself. Okay, but you will need some square dies, like a double stitched die and a single stitch die, or plain dies that nest together. As long as you have some kind of square dies in your collection, you will be able to make this card. Or to do this matte technique. Now, you can do this card without doing the matte technique and just cut squares too. So don't worry that this card is out of reach if you don't have these dies. But this is just a fun twist on accenting your focal image. Okay, so let me get my little paper cutter here, and we're going to just cut this down a little bit. So I want to cut this to 4 1/4. And then I want to cut a black sheet to 4 1/4 as well. That's just cutting a sheet in half and in half again. All right, so I'm going to use the Master Layouts 3 for my initial cuts here. And I'm going to start with, now normally, let's talk about what we would normally do. Normally, when we're creating the shadow layer, we have the stitch die that cuts the white layer. and the plain die that cuts the black layer. And when you layer them together, you get that little shadow layer of black behind there. Today, we're going to reverse it. Okay, so we're going to cut our black layer out of the plain, the stitched one. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that a little bit, and I'm going to cut that out. All right. Okay, so we've got that one cut out. Now, if you ever get little edges that don't look really clean, all you have to take is a pair of scissors, take the side of the scissors and just kind of run it down the side, and any little, shreds that you get, because occasionally you do get a couple, it just cleans that all up. Okay. So that's the stitch die. This is Master Layouts 3. Now, if you're cutting along or you want to cut this would just be a 3 3/4 inch square. So you could certainly cut that with your paper cutter. A 3 3/4 inch square. Okay, so that's my first panel. Now my second panel, I'm going to cut out with white, and I'm going to cut this one to 3 7/8 inch square. So you can go to that 3 3/4 mark, go up 1/8 of an inch, cut, turn it, go to the 3 3/4 inch mark, go up 1/8 of an inch, and then cut it. That gives you 3 7/8 inches square. I'm going to do it with the die because it's just easier. So I'm going to cut this. I want to make sure this is the right die. And the way to do that, to make sure it's the smaller of the two plain ones, is just lay them on top of each other. Yep, that's totally the right one. Okay. So I want the smaller of the two plain squares from Master Layouts 3, which is 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. Yes, sanding blocks work great. That's a great idea, Carol, for the edges. Absolutely. Okay. All righty. So I've got this panel. Let me pull this out. See my mess here. Okay, so normally, I like to do the white with that little shadow edge. Today, we've got the black with the little white shadow edge. So maybe that's a better visual for you. That's the way we're starting this card. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to get more squares involved. So let me put the Master Layouts 3 dies away here. Okay. So now we're going to take this smaller of the two squares. This is the 3 3/4 inch square. And I'm going to use my regular square dies. These are the double stitched and the single stitched. And if you have my double stitched and single stitched shapes, you know that they can be used as standalone dies. But if you mix them together, the single stitched die is 1/8 of an inch bigger, which allows you to create a nice little shadow layer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this die and we're going to take this die and we're going to create an opening. So the single stitch one is the bigger one. So that's going to go with that bigger white panel. And the double stitched one is the smaller one. So we're going to align that right in the center of that box. All right. Now, if you feel more comfortable, you can tape this down. I might tape it down. I'm thinking I'm going to feel more comfortable today, especially doing this live. You'll still have your black, right? Black cardstock? Yes, we'll always have our black cardstock. It's just, it sells out really quickly, and there's supply chain shortages with cardstock now. So we get a whole bunch in, and then it sells out, and then we have to wait again for the next round. But we will have more coming in, I promise. Okay. So now I'm just taping that down. I kind of eyeballed it to center it. Just want to, get it nice and centered with my eye. I eyeball a lot of things. If you want to be very, very particular, you could measure a center point and you can use a white colored pencil to mark it all out. I just eyeball it. I think it's fine. And then I'm going to cut that out. I should have turned it just a little on its side. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Yeah, the squares are really fun for this technique for mats, but any of them are. The rectangles, you can do this technique with the ovals, you can do it with the circles. It's a really fun technique. Now I'm just gently peeling this washi tape off. I do have a little stuck to my die here, but you can see I made a frame. And then I'm just going to clean up the inside. I don't have a block. And this I can keep for another project, right? I don't need to throw that away. So I don't have a block, a sanding block. So I'm just going to take my scissors here. You can also take like the Tim Holtz craft knife and just kind of run it along the edges here just to make sure there's no, I've used these same dies for years and years and years, way back since I first started with ThermoWeb. So, oh my goodness, that's got to be 7 years now. So I use them so much that it might be getting a little dull. All right, so there we go. I have my frame. So I'm going to put this aside. Yeah, I'll do 5x7 for sure. And then I just did that all over my die cutting machine. So I just want to get rid of all of that. And now I'm going to put that white square that I cut out. And this one, I want to be a little more careful to get it centered. I'm using that plain square. I'm sorry, not the plain square, but the single stitched. The black one was cut with that double stitched. So I'm using the single stitched one. And I'm going to line that up here so that it looks nice and straight. It's a little harder to see on the white because the platform is white, but it should be okay. All right, and I'm going to tape that down as well. So when I have it in place, make sure it looks nice and straight going down the sides. Again, you know, with these dies, because they have these big openings, it's not uncommon that they curve a little bit over time. So just hold it flat to make sure it looks right. And then once you get it taped down, it's not going to move. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you. Happy crafternoon. Okay, I'm going to cut this. Yeah, nail file works too, Deb. That's a great idea.
Unknown caller.
Oh, we've got an unknown caller in the house. All right. So again, this is a perfect thing to use for another piece, another card. So I'm going to put that aside. Now I'm going to gently peel this off because this is going to be showing on my card. So I do not want to tear my paper. You could use pixie tape for this too, because it's not as sticky as washi tape. All right, so there we go. So now I have my frame. Now, let's get this die cutting machine out of the way. And we're going to cut another little panel, just a plain square panel. So this one can be 3 1/4. I'm sorry, 3 1/4. It can even be a little less than 3 1/4. So if you just want to go down a little bit past 3 1/4, 3 1/4 by a little less than 3 1/4 on that side. Okay, and this is going to be the panel that I'm going to stamp on. So I want to show you what this does first. So let me clean this up and let me get a piece of craft paper. I feel like you can always see things better on the craft paper. It kind of brightens it up a bit. So let me show you what this ultimately looks like. All right, so when you layer these two together, see how you get that beautiful matte? But it's on the inside. It's not a shadow layer on the outside. It's a matte on the inside. And it just frames it out so nicely. And I love that it's a super skinny matte like that. Now, if you don't want to, you know, have a real skinny matte, you can have a thicker matte by using the next size down for your black piece. So you can do a smaller square and then you get a much wider mat in there. But I really love that super thin little mat. And I think for scrapbook pages, for shaker cards, for refrigerator magnets, when you want to put a photo behind there, that mat is such a beautiful little layer to do. Okay, so let's put this aside. We're going to put that together later. This, I do want to just show you. So now I cut this layer because this is the panel that I'm going to be doing my stamping on. So I think I'm going to use this big leaf and I'm going to stamp it on an angle. Let's just see what that looks like. I know it's going to cut off a little bit, but I think it'll still look pretty because I'm going to pop this frame up using foam tape, and that's going to make it more like a shadow box, right? So these square dies are from our double stitched squares and our single stitch squares. So there are 2 sets of dies that we have in our collection. We have 4 different shapes like this. We have our circles, we have our squares, we have, I gotta go through here, we have our rectangles, and then you get these little cute dies also to play with that are in the set because there was space in the middle and I wanted to give you as much as I could rather than just do the shapes. And then we have our ovals. So you can do this same technique for any of these shapes. Okay. And then I got my storage boards at stampandstorage.com. I'll put a link to that just in case any of you guys want to, you know, store your dies on these kinds of boards. The dies just don't come off. They're thick and they're sturdy. And then you get all these cute little dies that you can play with for other projects in the middle. I love that little tag for Christmas gifts and things like that. So yeah, I'll put a link to these boards just in case. I know a lot of you are constantly asking where I get my magnets. So it's 2 separate sets. It's the double stitch squares and the single stitch squares. Okay, so we'll do this. We could do it in either direction. I think I'll do it this way. I'm kind of feeling it this way. So I thought it'd be fun to do some embossing today. So I need to get my MISTI out. Since I have all of my embossing stuff just sitting all over the place here, I thought it would probably be good to keep going with it because I did some embossing on Tuesday night. I agree, Kay. Stampin' Storage magnets are the best. I've had other things too, and then they bend and the dies go all over the place. All right, so I'm going to use my embossing magic pad. You guys know I love this thing. And I'm going to just rub that all over the surface to remove any oil, any static on that cardstock. And then I want to make sure that I'm really tucked into the corner there in case I want to double stamp this. I don't think I'll have to because I've already used this stamp several times. And I do want to get that as in the center as possible. Okay. So these actually, just so that you know, these actually make great shaker cards too. All you have to do is once you glue or tape these 2 panels together is just tape a piece of acetate onto the front and then you've got a shaker window and then you just put your foam tape around there, fill it up with some sequins and pop it on. So this is a great way to create a shaker window. All right, so now I'm gonna pick that up and I'm going to use my embossing and watermark ink for this. Now for the color today, I think I will go with the fine detail gold powder. The square dies are not part of a master layout set, Martha. They are separate die sets that we've had for years in our collection. So you'll find them under the dies category and they're just separate sets, double stitched and single stitched. All right. So I have this little piece of cardstock here for my embossing powder. I'm using the Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink, and I'm going to ink this up really well. This is a very sticky ink. In fact, it's so sticky that in my video on Tuesday night, I was inking the stamp up and pulled the stamp right off the MISTI because the back of the stamp wasn't that clean. So I had to just clean the back of the stamp to get it to stick to the MISTI. It was probably a good thing because it probably would have fallen off when I tried to close the door. It would have been a mess. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stamp this onto my piece of square cardstock that I cut just a little shy of 3 3/4 inches square. It could be 3/4 inch square if you know, because they're all going to line up nicely together. How do I prevent the fillers from sticking to the inside of my foam tape? The fillers from sticking to the inside of my foam tape. Oh, okay. So I do have a little trick for that. And I'll tell you about it. But what I like to do is I like to just, I know what she's asking is when you put your foam tape around the outside and then you put your shaker materials on the inside, the foam tape along the side can be sticky and it'll catch the filler and it'll stick. So what I do is prior to sticking it down, I take the foam tape, right? It's on there. I take my embossing magic pad and I just dust it like that to get a little dust on the counter. And then I take a paintbrush and I pick up the dust and I just dust all on the inside of the foam tape prior to putting down my acetate. And what that does is it takes away all the sticky on the inside, so you don't have to worry about your shaker filler getting stuck onto your foam tape. I hope that helps, and I hope that makes sense to people. I'm going to be doing some shaker cards during our holiday. After we do our holiday release, I'm going to be doing shaker cards. So I will show you a lot of those techniques then, I promise. But I think you guys get it. Okay. Alrighty. The other thing too is if your shaker filler is sticking to your acetate, that's a problem, right? That's not fun. All you have to do is wash your acetate with warm soapy water and dry it with a paper towel beforehand. That takes all the static off of it. So you won't have that problem anymore. So there's 2 shaker card tips, and I'm not even making a shaker card. All right. So let's take this. Now, if you don't want to use the big leaf on here, you could just stagger the 3 small ones, because I know people will say, well, how come you didn't use the small ones this time? Or you can, do the flower and do a couple of the small flowers around the outside. You can use any of these designs. Yeah, any kind of powder. If you don't have an embossing magic pad, although I do think the embossing magic pad is the best thing ever for this technique. All right, I'm going to heat this from the back. Yes, wash the acetate with warm soapy water and see what happens. Its static will be gone. It will be gone. Okay, beautiful designs on the stamps. Did you mention who designed it? I did not mention who designed it. Some of our art, we work with artists who prefer to not have their names mentioned. We license their art from them, but they work in other industries as well, and they prefer to be anonymous artists with our company. But we have a whole line of artists that are named and promote their products, and you can see their designs in our store as well. My clothespin. Good thinking. Here's my clothespin. Okay. Thank you. All right, so here we go. I just wanted to heat that up a little bit so that it works a little faster. And I'm heating this up from the back because I find that I'm less apt to burn the powder when I do it this way. I have a tendency to burn my powder. Maybe I'm overzealous with the heat or something, but this helps prevent that. Okay, looking good. There we go. So look how pretty that leaf is. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Hello, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Okay. So if you get any embossing powder where you don't want it, like there was a little stray piece on my clip and then it got hot, you can just take a mono sand eraser and you can just sand anything off that got on there that you didn't want on there. But it's always better to brush it off with your little fancy paintbrush than to have to try to scrape it off later. Okay, so I should clean this. I'm getting bad about cleaning stuff when I'm working live, and then I get to the end of the video and all my embossing ink is all sticky and dried onto my stamps. It's a mess. It's a mess. Okay. Yes, autumn themed crafting is the best, isn't it? All right, now let's take a look at how this is going to look together. Oh, I think that's going to be really pretty. It's like a little shadow box. Isn't that cool? I love it. Yes, these little squares are different from the Master Layouts 3. They're smaller. They're much smaller. And that's how you can take the Master Layouts 3 and create the outsides of these and then cut the smaller squares on the insides. Now, there is a very small square in the Master Layouts 3. I'll show you how small it is. It's this small. So that makes a very tiny window. But you could do that, and it would just look like one of those prints that you buy that has this big matted area, and then the art is very small in the center, and that would still be very beautiful. So if you have Master Layouts 3, try that, and then maybe use this die with the small leaf so you can get the same look. Bigger mat, smaller design in the center. You know, it's kind of like that minimalistic style art. Okay, so now the next step here is to line these up together. And it is a little tricky, I'm not gonna lie. It might be better to use Connect Glue for it because Connect Glue is a little slippery. You get a little more wiggle room with it. You also get wiggle room with this tape. You can peel things apart and keep going, but let's do it with a little Connect Glue. So I'm just going to put the Connect Glue here. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge though, because we want that edge to show. So I'm just kind of going along the outside mostly. Okay, you can really see the blue anti-freeze agent, the freeze thaw agent in this when it's on black. You can't see it as much on white, but you can see it on black. All right, here we go. I'm nervous. Okay, I'm going to start at the bottom. And once I get like a pretty decent looking bottom and side to side, the top should be fairly even then too. All right, I think that's going to be good. Maybe we'll see. But see how I can like move it around a little bit here? Yeah, that looks pretty good. If it's not perfect, you can slide it a little bit. There we go. Okay, isn't that a nice mat? It's so pretty. I did forget to clean up the white part. So let me get my little stick tool. Where's my Tim Holtz stick tool? Here it is. Here we go. Just clean that off a little bit. Okay. So now that's my little frame. With the cold, does the cold affect your Connect Glue? It does not anymore. Our original formula did not have a freeze thaw agent, so we couldn't ship it in the winter. We tried and we ended up getting some returns because depending on how much of a deep freeze the country was in, there would be problems. It wasn't too bad when it was just regular winter, but when you'd get the 30, 40 below wind chill, that kind of weather. So now we reformed. The glue is the same. All we did was add a freeze thaw agent, and it allows us to ship to Antarctica. And that's what we wanted. All right. So I'm going to just flatten this out a little bit, and then I'm going to put some foam tape on this, and I'm going to adhere this with the foam tape onto this layer. No, this isn't a Simon Says Stamp exclusive. This is from the Autumn Splendor kit, which is still available at GinaKDesigns.com. Now, this, speaking of the Autumn Splendor kit, you know, you could do this same thing and then use the ephemera from the kit. Let me just show you before I make the commitment here to go forward. I've got my ephemera all cut out here. So you could take the ephemera and you could do a beautiful layout inside here, you know, and then have this kind of sticking up. So I'll pull a few more pieces here because I cut out so much of this ephemera. That die is so much fun. I hope you guys are having fun with the ephemera because I just love it. I love it so much. And I'm just throwing things down that really probably don't go perfectly together, but you guys get the point what I'm doing here. Where's more of my pumpkins? Here's one. You can put this up here. You can put this down here. You know, and then you can have that as a shadow box. You can even put the acetate on top and then put all kinds of beautiful autumn colored sequins in there, gold and different things. So the ephemera is another way to use this, and that's all part of that kit. All right. But somebody asked me in the group, are you going to do anything else with the Doodled Autumn? So I stamp set. So I was committed to honor that request today. All right, so now I have some of our foam tape. This is the Gina K Designs foam tape, and it seems like it's going to be the perfect width. But just to be safe, what I might do is I might just cut it in half just to be safe so none of it shows. So I'll just take these scissors here and I'm just going to cut right down the center here just to thin out this foam tape a bit. All right. Tom's getting his guitar. I hear it. I hear it in the distance. All righty. So then I'm just going to place this right along here like that. And I'll place this one right along here. Now, since we're not making a shaker card, I don't have to worry about connecting these two because I have nothing to spill out. I'm not even using acetate for this. But if you were going to make a shaker card, you would want your foam tape to touch so that nothing could escape out, if that makes sense. All right. Yeah, I've got some really fun things to share with you for Christmas this year, for the holidays. Ooh, boy. So we're going to do some shaker cards. We're going to do all kinds of fun things. I can't wait. But I don't want to rush the seasons, you know? I just don't want to rush them. And I know my Stamptember set for Simon was Christmas, but, and I of course I have to showcase that for you, but I think I'm sticking with fall for a little while now. I mean, the kids just went back to school. It's not even Halloween yet, so we're going to take our time. We don't have to rush. The next release is supposed to be at the end of September. And again, we're always kind of a little apprehensive to swear to it because of supply chain issues. So now this is really warpy, this cardstock, and I'm afraid it's not going to lay flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of our Gina K Designs. This is our heavy base weight white cardstock. And I'm going to cut another square about the same size as this. And I'm going to layer them together to help it be a little bit flatter. So I'm going to cut this down to a little under 3 3/4 of an inch. Boy, this is nice thick cardstock. And then again, a little under 3 3/4 of an inch thick. So if you have issues, you can mount that onto something a little bit thicker, and that should help it to lay flat. And I am going to put a little bit of extra tape here because I want it to stick everywhere, especially around the perimeter. Okay. Alrighty. I think I want to go this way, but I don't think it really matters because I can turn it afterwards. All right, so now it's a lot flatter just by building that up. Okay, and now we're going to place this on top to give it that cool dimensional window. All righty. So now this is our focal image for our card. Okie dokie. Now this one I have to be careful because this is very sticky tape and I do want to try to get it as centered as possible. But again, because I've cut this smaller, and that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that this panel is a little bit smaller. You don't have to worry if it's a little off because you're not going to see it. So we're going to just pop that on there. There we go. And there we have our little shadow box card. You can see how it's just got that pretty dimension that I love. Okay. Now, if anything is sticking out weird at the bottom, because you can see I didn't really nail that so well, you can just take a pair of scissors and just gently get in there and just cut that away. Because I didn't do that perfectly. That's all right. Go. Now you can't see that from underneath. I just cut that away. So don't freak out if you do it not perfect because, you know, that's not the standard here. The standard here is better than horrible. All right, so now let's do something pretty with our Master Layouts 8. So since we've got gold here, wouldn't it be pretty to have a gold background? I've got some gold cardstock sitting here. I think if we did the background in gold, I think that would be really pretty. And we can add some texture using a technique that I've been teaching for 10 years, but I still go back to it. Even though we have beautiful embossing folders, I still go back to this technique. So we'll do that. All right, so let me get some gold cardstock. I'm sure we have a piece left in here somewhere. We have to make sure that this is cut big enough. Okay, so I'm getting my paper cutter again, and I'm going to cut this piece of gold metallic cardstock. This is a Gina K Designs cardstock, gold metallic. What's nice about it is it's a muted metallic. It's not a super shiny metallic, and I love that. All right, and we're going to cut this out using the bigger die, the smaller die. Oh my gosh. How come I don't know the difference between the word big and small? This is Master Layouts 8 die set. We're going to use the smaller die, which is the stitch die. Okay. And then I'm going to place this here in my die cutting machine. And again, I'm just going to turn it a little bit. It's a big die, so you see how I'm not putting it in perfectly straight. I'm just doing one corner to go in first. It's just going to make it cut so much easier. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear about the Queen. Such a lovely person. Okay. I know she did so much good. All right, so again, I could have put my piece of cardstock down to not have all those, but you can see I've got that pretty decorative stitched edge on there. I like that. All right, so now the technique that I'm doing for years, I'll always do it. I love it. It's creating a little bit of lattice pattern. Now you can do this. I'm going to get my big scoreboard for it though. When you're doing 5x7, you do need a bigger scoreboard. So this is a great technique to do with your small score buddy on an A2 card. If you're going to do it on a bigger card, you can flip it around, but it's a little trickier. So I am going to get my jumbo scoreboard here. Let me back up a little bit. Oh my goodness, this thing is huge. Okay, so what's nice about this one though is it's got these marks here, right? So that's at the 6-inch mark. So you can go to the 6-inch mark and you can find that really easily. The 6-inch mark down here, you see this? They've got these markings that go at 6 inches, 9 inches, and 3 inches. And I'm sure that that's really great for some sort of card, and that's why they did this. And on the package, I'm sure that it, talked about what you can use all these for, but I threw my thing away, my packaging. So don't do that. Don't be like me. Don't throw your packaging away, but you can always go online too and type in Score Pal and find all kinds of Score Pal techniques. Okay, so I am lined up on that 6-inch mark, and I've got the front end. This is the front side with the nice stitching. The back has ugly stitching. That's just the way it is with the dies. You get the perfect impression on the front, and the back you get whatever you get. So I want to make sure that it's front side down because I want my scoring to come forward. I don't want it to press back in. Yeah, I use this board for envelopes and for other, if I want to do bigger cards. I really like this one. It's not super expensive. You don't need it, but it is nice to have it. If you can get it, it's nice to have it. So I want to make sure I'm in the right spot here. And I just pulled down a little bit from this top edge so I can sink my scoring tool in there. And I'm going to create a score line. Then I can decide, do I want 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch? I'm going to do 1/2 inch for now. So I'm going to go to every marking that says 1/2 inch. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. Then the next, let's see. So 1/2 inch and then the full inch. So 7 and then the 1/2 inch. Okay. Then 8 and then the 1/2 inch. Then 9. And it's easy to get into the wrong spot because they're so close together. So I always start my tool right at the top and I go all the way down, even if my cardstock is way down here, if that makes sense. Okay, so you can see I've got that beautiful texture now on there. Now I'm going to flip it around the other way and go to that 6 inch mark and make sure I'm lined up here. And I am. That look right? Yeah, that looks right. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. So the 1/2 inch mark, then the 7, 7 1/2. Now you guys have seen me do this a million times with the Score Buddy, the small one on A2 cards, but this is my big Score Pal. And I also have one that's a metric one. So if you use metric and that's easier for you, you can pick up the metric one. All right, so now I've got these nice angle score lines. Now I'm going to flip it this way. I'm going to do the same thing again because I want to create a lattice pattern. Now I do have a lattice embossing folder and I probably could use that, but this is just a fun way to create it if you don't happen to have that particular embossing folder. 1/2 inch. It really does look quite spectacular on this metallic cardstock. And you can do 1/4 inch ones, you can do full inch ones. Lots of fun ways to create this look. So I've got my first lattice there. I think you can turn on closed captioning. There's a little wheel on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, where you can add the captioning if you want closed captioning. Okay. I have it on all the time because I watch a lot of YouTube videos at night, and I sometimes check my own videos and the captions are all playing. So I know it happens naturally through the YouTube system. Okay. All right. So now I've got that beautiful pattern there on that gold cardstock, and I still have that cute little stitching going around the outside. All righty. Well, that took a little extra time, but not that much. So now we need to cut that shadow layer out. And I think I'm going to cut a black shadow layer out, and then I'm going to use a white card base. I think that would be a striking kind of thing with this. And then this is going to be my focal image here. And I'll put my greeting right down here. You can also do something like this, where you do it sideways, and then you have a little greeting coming across the side, and it can be a top fold card. We'll see. We'll see which way we're going to go. Yes, on the replay, that's correct. There is no you can't do closed captioning on a live video, my understanding is. Maybe you can. I don't know. I'd have to look because, you know, it doesn't know what you're going to say yet. So I don't know what I'm going to say yet. Let me get a piece of black here. Find another piece of black cardstock. So we'll do the black and gold, and then we'll do that white card base. So let me cut a half sheet here. And now I'm going to use the plain rectangle from Master Layouts 8, which is our 5x7. I should have turned that a little bit. Yours is on closed captioning, and you can see the closed captioning. Excellent. Okay. All right. Must do it in real time then. That's great. Yeah, I don't watch myself live because I can't, like I can't, it would be distracting to have it playing while I'm actually on. I always watch it afterwards and see the closed captioning. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Tom, do you have a word of the day? Look how pretty that is. I love that. They're asking for a word of the day, Thomas.
Okay, word of the day. So, when you're talking to somebody and I don't know, they want to apologize for something and they just kind of give you, oh, sorry, or
insincere.
It just sounds a little bit less than sincere. That never happens to us, right?
No.
They would be giving a faux apology. Faux apology.
Oh, that's funny. A faux apology. Okay, I just had to turn this and I just fell in love. So I don't know if it's going to fit on the card, but I just fell in love with that. Seriously, I love the way that looks. So we have to see if it's going to fit. Let's see. All right, let me get a white piece of cardstock here to cut a card base. Faux apology. I don't like faux apologists. I need my big paper cutter for this. All right. So a 5x7 card would be a 10x7 piece of cardstock. So we're going to cut this down to 10. Right? Right. And then we got to cut this to 7. So this should be our card base. 10x7 and scored at the 5-inch mark. I can use my little one for that because I can flip it. Boy, it doesn't look right, but we'll see. I think it's right. I like 5x7 cards. I don't do them enough, but I'm glad we have a master layout set that works. I just have to crease the side there, and I did it off the side of the table, so sorry if you missed that. Okay, so now this is going to go right in here, and that looks so pretty, and then I think this is going to work. Yes. It might be a little off, but you know what? I have bigger envelopes, and you can get bigger envelopes too. I mean, our 5x7 card envelopes are actually bigger than 5x7. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on the angle. And even if you just were adding this, by hand to a gift or something, I feel like that's just so pretty. And then to put the greeting down here. Do you guys like that? Or should I go with this? Do you like that? I still have to put a greeting down here. And I was thinking, I don't know if I have a pre-cut greeting or not. I have to look. This is all my stuff that I already made and cut. But I was thinking, if I had a big word like hello, like this word, but I did it in white, it would be really pretty. And then did a little greeting along with it. I think I'll cut a white one out like that. And then maybe I'll do a little greeting with it. Because I like hello. Okay. So, you like the angle better? I like the angle better. Like that. I really do like that myself. I really do. Let's see what a word would look like. Now, obviously, this is not a bad word, but I think that's not going to fit like that. But if I did it like this, it would definitely fit. And I can add some sequins all around it. But I do really like that angle thing. I think I would do the diamond shape, that angle. You think that this looks better with the diamond shape? I think I would, if I did this card again, I think I would use the smaller size because here's the next size down of dies. And then I could even use like this as the big one. So we could do that size and have this as the opening. See how that would look? That would be the perfect size for this card, don't you think? So we could do this whole thing again. We can't now because we don't have time, but we could use this smaller leaf in there and that would be perfect. So I don't know that I can trim the frame because it's all, you know, popped up already. So I don't think I'd be able to get in there and do that. But I'll do it this way. I'm just worried about the greeting. Like, how am I going to get that greeting to look right? I might have to do a different kind of greeting down here. Maybe I can use the greeting from the kit. The thanks greeting. So let's just take a look at that. I don't think I cut any, but I could definitely do a thanks greeting down here. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so torn. I feel like I want to do this, and then I want to do maybe another panel of white here, down here, and add the greeting onto there. I think that might be better for mailing, especially because I'm going to be sending this card to somebody. And then I'll add a few little sequins in there. So as much as I love the idea, maybe I'll do the thanks. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the thanks word, and I'm going to do a strip of white down here just to ground the word, if that makes sense. So we know that this panel measures 3 7/8. So I'm going to get my paper cutter, and I'm going to do a 3 7/8 white panel. Let me grab a piece of cardstock here. 3 7/8. Actually, I'll do 3 3/4, and I'll do 3 7/8. 3 7/8, and then I'm going to make that 3/4 of an inch wide. Okay, so I'll have this piece down here. Just down here, I'm going to reposition it. But I might make it a hair smaller and do a black layer on the outside. So let's try that. Got to think this stuff through while we're live. We just got to do it. Okay, so now I have a little bit smaller of a panel, and then I'm going to take a black panel, and I'm going to make that the 3 7/8. And then let me cut that to an even number so it makes it easy for me to cut a strip that matches. So this is a 3/4 inch strip. So I want to make this 3/4 inches, right? It's 3/4 inch. And then take it down 1 more eighth. And that should work. Might not, but it should. It did. Yay. Okay. So I've got this little strip here, and I'm going to put this here, and this is going to allow me to ground my greeting onto something. So I'm going to put this aside for a second, and we're going to cut our greeting out. We're going to cut the word thanks out of black cardstock. Alrighty. You know that most of my videos, I'm just teaching a technique. You can go back and modify that technique and do better sizes that work better for you. So I've got a little strip of black cardstock. I'm going to cut the word thanks. And then because I have black in my little shadow layer here, I'm actually going to cut the shadow layer die out in white so I can pop it up. All right, let's get this word out here. So there's the word thanks. I could do gold, but I think that it'd be hard to see the gold against all of that gold background because it's going to extend past the little bar that I just made, and then you wouldn't be able to see those parts. So do I have my shadow layer? I do. I'm going to cut a white shadow layer, and we'll see how it looks. We can make our decisions then, but we'll have everything that we need cut, and whatever we don't need, we'll use somewhere else. Okay. So this is the shadow layer, and then you adhere these two together, and that just, you know, makes it stand out a little bit more if there's black somewhere else on the card, which in this case, we've got this little strip. We can pop that on there, and I think things will stay separated. You'll be able to see everything by itself. Now, let's do one more thing. You know, I can't stop, right? I gotta keep going. Okay. So we can make this just a thanks card, or we could stamp a little strip sentiment. But instead of doing that, I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try something here. I am going to try adding some lattice to this. So let's go to here. I don't know if it's going to be big enough, but we'll, it might be. Should we try it? I can always cut another one, even if we go a little long. You know what, though? The lattice, the shape of the lattice is going to be different. So I'm going to decline doing that. And instead, I'm just going to let it go like that. Okay, let's assemble the card and see what happens. It's very exciting. We're all witnessing it together. I could run it through with just my embossing folder. You're right. I just looked for my embossing folder and I did not see it with my eyeball. So I'm just worried that I'm not going to be able to find it, but I could use the lattice embossing folder there. That would be a really good idea, actually. Okay, so we'll put these together here. I just don't think it would work. I think I would have to do like a smaller lattice pattern, like a 1/8 of an inch lattice or a 1/4 inch lattice. And it could look good. I'll get all this together, and right before we make the commitment, I'll just do one on a scrap piece of paper and we'll look at it together. Because we have time. We have 3 minutes. We've got 3 whole minutes, Tom. We're fine. All righty. So let's, my connect glue. I didn't put the cap on, so let me peel this little bit of glue that's blocking it here. Okay. You do have to put the cap on. Sometimes when I'm working and I think, oh, I'm going to be using it in another second, and then I don't for a little bit, the glue dries over the tip and you just have to peel it off. So we'll only have 1 card for a giveaway today, Tom, but we've been giving multiples away lately. I've been getting a lot of cards done per video. I work my way across, sticking it down. There we go. Okay. Now, let's see how this looks. I just want to lay it out. It would be nice if it had a little something to it. We could try this. That is kind of cool. That is kind of cool, isn't it? I might have to do that. I actually like the simplicity of this because it matches the simplicity of this. And then I think I'll just add a few little sequins in here and on here. I'm going for it. I'm going for the diamond to play off the diamond shape. Here we go. Glad it's a square. If it was a rectangle, if I'd committed to a rectangle at first, that would have been bad. Because it would have been weird. Okay. There we go. And then this. We got to have this nice and even away, evenly spaced on the sides and the bottom. That looks good. And then we'll just pop that right on there and we'll add a couple little sequins. I kind of like this. Glad we did this. I'm going to use connect here. I'm just putting it on this part, not up here, because some of that's going to stick over the edge. Here we go. And then we'll add some sequins to this. All right, where do we put them? Okay, Tom, I think we're going to give this card away.
Well, okay.
I don't think
Let's do
anybody
it.
wants it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do the gold sequins, gold on gold on gold. These are our 14 karat sequins. And where's my jewel picker? I brought it in. Here it is. I had everything in my office. I was playing with stuff in my office, and sometimes I leave stuff in there. You've been here when Tom has to run to my office to get things. All right. Just a couple sequins here.
Seems like a very different layout.
It is a different layout. Just something different. People have been asking me to use the 5x7 master layouts, and I don't make a lot of 5x7 cards, but people love to make 5x7 cards, especially our friends overseas. They love the 5x7s. So, you know, it's kind of, I like to try to do it, but I'm not as experienced as they are. But I still like to try to make them. And I told you guys this before. My mom used to equate the size of the card for the amount of love. My fingers are gluey. To the amount of love. So if I sent her an A2 card, she would say, oh, I guess you don't love me that much. She was the kind of person that loved, you know, those jumbo cards they used to have at the Hallmark store that were like the size of a person. She still loved those cards. So there we go.
And you did those sequins cupwards, right?
I did them cupward. Yes. Cup up.
Cupward.
Add one more sequin up here. I feel like it's just missing a little glitter there. All right, Tom. So who do we give this card to?
Drum roll, please.
Okay. All right, let me back out a little bit because this is such a big card. If you're watching on a big screen, it's huge. There we go.
All right. Lucky winner today for this spectacular card is Donna Shelcusky.
Donna, congratulations. You are our lucky winner. So I'm going to send this to you, Donna. All you have to do is send your name and address to info@ginakdesigns.com, and I will get this right out to you. Well, that was really fun, and it was just fun to play with this layout. And my real point of this whole video was not this layout. My real point of this whole video was to teach you guys how to create this little mat so that you can use it for photos, you can use it for shaker cards, and you can use it for a variety of other techniques. So there we go. Well, everybody, I hope you had a good time today. I certainly had a great time with you guys. I will be back this weekend with another 5-minute card video, and I hope you will join me then. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you all so very much, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.